Restriction without revelation only leads to resentment. And a lot of what we call fasting today is just that, restriction without real revelation. Now, I've never actually done a Daniel fast myself because of what I'm about to share with you in this video. But I've watched people I care about do it year after year. And I've watched many of them end up in the exact same place when it's over. Okay, so here's the pattern. January comes. Last year didn't go the way we hoped. The goals, the promises, the this is my year, it just didn't land. So we reach for what we've been told is the spiritual reset button. 21 days, no meat, no alcohol, no social media, no sweets, no streaming apps. For some, no coffee, just vegetables, water, and the hope that this time something finally changes. And for those 21 days, we feel focused, we feel disciplined, we feel like, okay, now I'm really serious about God. But then February shows up. And quietly, a lot of us slide back into the same patterns, the same habits, the same version of ourselves we were trying to get away from. So next January, we run the same play again and again. Now, I'm not saying this to judge anyone. I'm saying it because I care about what this is doing to our bodies and our faith. Here's what most people don't even realize. They didn't fail the fast failed them. They restricted for the wrong reasons and at the wrong time. They were told no meat, so they filled their plate with whatever was left. Bread, pasta, fruit, vegetables, things we've been told are healthy. Then they break the fast and their system reacts, but they don't connect the dots and they don't even realize it. Here's what I discovered that changed everything for me. When I went back to Daniel, not looking for a diet plan, but trying to understand what he actually did, I realized something that stopped me in my tracks. The Daniel fast we've been taught, it's not even what Daniel did, not even close. Here's the actual story. Daniel 1, verse 8 through 16. Daniel is in Babylon, taken captive, and the king assigns him food from the royal table. But Daniel refuses it. And instead of saying no, he does something most people missed. He asked for a test. 10 days. Give us pulse and water, he says. Then compare us to the others eating the king's food. See, we've been told that Daniel ate vegetables and drank water, but that's a surface level reading by people who've never asked the question. Wait, if this was just about restriction, why did Daniel ask for a test? Daniel didn't just avoid the king's food, he made a strategic choice. He asked for pulse, things sown from seeds, legumes, lentils, beans, chickpeas, not just vegetables, not bread and fruit to fill the gap, not whatever was left after removing meat. He chose something specific, something intentional, something that will prove what he already knew to be true. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Daniel wasn't fasting. He was being faithful. And at the end of the 10 days, Daniel and his friends didn't just look better than the others who ate the king's food. They were healthier, stronger, sharper. The test proved it. Now look at this. After 3 years of living this way, not 21 days, not a January reset, but a sustained lifestyle. They stood before the king, and in every manner of wisdom and understanding, they were found to be 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in the entire kingdom. That wasn't just spiritual discipline, that was faithfulness that produced results. But here's what most people miss. And it's the reason the Daniel fast keeps failing them year after year. It's not just about what you eat. It's about what you're eating for. And if you don't understand the difference between a test and a fast between proving something and pursuing something, you'll keep running the same 21-day cycle and wondering why nothing ever changes. So let me show you what Daniel actually did and why it worked. Why do we call it a Daniel fast when Daniel never called it that? Look at Daniel 1:12. Please test us for 10 days. Give us nothing but pulse to eat and water to drink. Notice what's missing: the word fast. The Hebrew word for fasting means to abstain from food or to cover the mouth. But Daniel never used that word. He didn't ask for a restriction. He asked for a test, examination, or trial. Daniel didn't ask to escape Babylon. He asked to prove God's wisdom works better than Babylon. So if it's not a fast, what is it? It's a lifestyle. When Daniel arrived in Babylon, the first thing they did wasn't put him in chains. They changed his name. I call this the story of Daniel's refusals, his reasons, his replacements, and his results. Watch this. Daniel's refusals. Look at what Daniel refused. Daniel, it means God is my judge. Belteshazzar, which is the name they gave him, Baal protects my life. Hananiah, which was one of the 3 Hebrew boys, his name means Lord shows grace. But Shadrach, which was a Babylonian name given to him, means command of Aku. Mishael, that name means who is like God. But Meshach, which was the name they tried to give him, who is as Aku is. Now, the other Hebrew boy, Azariah, his name means the Lord is my help. But then they tried to name him Abednego, servant of Nebo. Babylon tried to rename them to reprogram them, but Daniel and the Hebrew boys refused. Not just the names, the food too. Daniel 1:8 says, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. And here are Daniel's reasons. The Hebrew word for defile means to pollute, to strain, or to make common. Daniel wasn't worried about calories. He was worried about becoming common when God had called him to be holy, set apart, different, peculiar. Those names honored false gods. The food would defile him. Daniel refused to be renovated by Babylon. So what did he replace these things with? Daniel didn't call it a fast. He called it a test. The word pulse, it means things sown from seeds, legumes, lentils, beans, grains from seeds, not just vegetables. Daniel was specific. Daniel was essentially saying, let's test whose protocol works better. Babylon's royal food versus what I know from God's wisdom. Stay with me because this is going to change you spiritually and physically. I don't want you to miss this like most people. God's protocol wasn't no meat or only vegetables. Genesis 9:3 says, everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. God said all food was good, but he gave specific instructions for what optimizes health. Eat animals that chew the cud. That's grass-fed, clean-eating animals. Why? Because what the animal eats affects what you eat. God's protocol was always about optimization, not restriction. But Daniel was in Babylon. He didn't know what was actually in the king's food, so Daniel chose what he knew would work: pulse and water, packed with fiber, gut-feeding nutrients, protein, and complex carbs for sustained energy. Babylon renamed him Belteshazzar. Baal protects my life. And so Daniel said, okay, let's test whose wisdom actually protects and prospers life, yours or God's. Let the results speak for themselves. So what were their results? At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. The Bible says they were fairer and fatter. Wait, fatter? I thought these food choices were supposed to be better. How did they get fatter? Watch this. The meaning of fatter got reversed over time, like so many other words. The Hebrew word for fatter here means healthy, robust, thriving, not overweight. It's the same word used to describe Pharaoh's healthy cows in Joseph's dream. These weren't sick, bloated cows. They were strong, prosperous cows. So when the Bible says that Daniel and his friends were fatter, it means they were healthier, stronger, more robust, carrying the evidence of proper nourishment. They looked like people who were thriving, not starving. And then it says they were wiser. To these 4 men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. And Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. Watch this. They also dominated spiritually in every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them. He found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in the whole kingdom. 10 times better. Not because they fasted, but because they were faithful. Now, results 2 and 3 make even more sense when you understand gut health, because your brain fog clears, your memory sharpens. Why? Because your gut and your brain are directly connected. What you eat doesn't just affect your body, it affects your mind, your emotions, and your spiritual clarity. Daniel's diet wasn't just making him look better, it was making him think clearer and hear God sharper. Here's what nobody's telling you. Daniel stayed faithful to God's blueprint, and it made everyone else look like they were the ones fasting. Think about it. David ate pulse and drank water. The king's men ate royal food and drank wine. But Daniel looked healthier, thought clearer, and performed better. Who ended up looking deprived? The ones eating like kings. This is the power of faithfulness. Whatever is not an asset is a liability. Now, it's in God's best interest that you are at your best. He cannot expect you to have everything he planned for you, do everything he assigned for you, and be everything he has created you to be and not guide you to do it. Everything God restricted, Daniel refused to eat. And now science backs the dangers those things are causing our body. In that culture, they ate food like pork, and pigs eat anything. Their poor diet becomes your inflammation. What the animal eats, you eat. Wine is also inflammatory. This is what we know now because science has proved it. But Daniel knew because God said it. What God gives, like Daniel, we are to prove. And because it's factual, science can't prove anything other than what God said. Now, if you want to see what faithful looks like when it becomes fasting, let's fast forward to Daniel chapter 10. This is when Daniel actually fasted. Daniel 10 verses 2 through 3 says, "At that time, Daniel mourned for 3 weeks. I ate no choice foods, no meats, no wine touched my lips," which tells me at other times it probably did. No judgment though, no judgment at all. But there might be judgment on this next one. It says that he used no lotion at all. No lotion at all. So you were okay. Okay, you want to put the wine down, but you want to be ashy. That's some grieving if you choose to be ashy. That had to be a tough time. Daniel, was it that bad? I don't know. That part's rough. It was so bad you had to choose ash. But let's talk about why Daniel was fasting. He was mourning. He had received a vision of great conflict and was grieving over what was coming for his people. This was a true fast and abstaining from food because of deep spiritual anguish. Daniel chapter 1, I'm not broken. I'm staying faithful to who God called me to be. But Daniel 10, I'm grieving. I need to close for renovations and seek God for clarity. So this is why you can't mix faithfulness with fasting. Most Christians are trying to do Daniel 1 and Daniel 10 at the same time, and it's creating confusion, not transformation. They call it a fast, but they're really just trying to be faithful. They say they're seeking God, but they're really trying to prove a point. And when you mix the two, you get neither. This is why you can't combine the two. Faithfulness, Daniel 1, nothing's broken. Fasting, Daniel 10, something is broken. Faithful, Daniel 1, standing firm. Fasting, Daniel 10, bowing low. Faithfulness, Daniel 1, confidence. Fasting, Daniel 10, grief. Faithfulness, Daniel 1, open and thriving. Fasting, Daniel 10, close for renovations. Faithfulness, Daniel 1, goal is to prove God's protocol works. Fasting, Daniel 10, goal, hear what God is saying. Faithfulness, Daniel 1, produces results. Fasting, Daniel 10, produces revelation. You can't stand firm and bow low at the same time. You can't be confident and grieving at the same time. You can't protect your identity and renovate your clarity at the same time, because mixing the two makes it feel safer. If you call it a fast, you can feel spiritual even when nothing is broken. If you add seeking God to your diet, you can feel like you're doing something deep even if you're just trying to lose weight. But when you mix faithfulness and fasting, you dilute both. You end up fasting without mourning, being faithful without confidence, and checking a box without transformation. You get 21 days of torture instead of a lifestyle of faithfulness. You get performance instead of renovation. So which one do you actually need? Here's the difference between conforming and transforming. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Conformers experience pressures from without, shaped by the world's expectation. Transformers experience power from within, not changed by the system, but changing the system. Daniel 1, that's refusing to conform. Daniel didn't accept Babylon's names. He didn't accept Babylon's food. He refused to be renovated by the world. Daniel 10, Daniel choosing to transform. Daniel closed for renovations. He mourned, he sought God, he made space for clarity and breakthrough. Faithfulness protects your identity. Fasting renovates your clarity. Here's what you need to know. People will name you based off of what they see, but God names you based off of what he knows. Some people just won't see the image of God when they look at you. They will just see what they've been conditioned to see. They see your past, your mistakes, your limitations. They name you based off of their perceptions, but God doesn't name you based off of what he sees. He names you based off of what he knows. He knows who he created. He knows the blueprint he designed before you were even born. Babylon named Daniel Belteshazzar based off of what they saw, a captive, a servant, someone they could control. But God named Daniel based off of what he knew. God is my judge, not Babylon, not the king, not the culture, God. So what names have you been accepting that God never gave you? Maybe you've been called the one who can't get it together, the struggling one, the one who always falls short. Maybe you've been labeled by your past, your mistakes, your failures. But here's the truth. What you are called is not as important as what you accept. Daniel refused Babylon's name. He refused Babylon's food. He refused to be renovated by a system that didn't create him. And because of his faithfulness, he looked better, he thought clearer, and performed 10 times better than everyone else. When you refuse the name people give you and stay faithful to the name God gave you, the results will speak for themselves. You just have to be faithful and let God's protocol prove who he is through your life.